Hey everybody, we're getting ready to go on a live stream here. I'm just working on some links on the background for Instagram and for Patreon, but we'll be starting the digital Kava session here in a couple minutes. Welcome everyone to the show. All right, we are now live on Patreon as well. So we got that taken care of. Welcome everyone. Hey, what's up, Kingpin? Malo Lede, welcome. We're gonna get started here real soon. Toko Malo, appreciate it. For anyone maybe wondering where Mr. Atearoa is, we're doing our stream a little bit earlier than our typical. So Mr. Atearoa is busy working in the land of the long white cloud. So I did send him the link. I told him we're going to go a little early today. I got to go to the gym. Got to try and stay somewhat healthy. So I decided to do the live stream earlier today, and then if he's able to join us, he'll join us later on. We are now live on Facebook. We are also on YouTube, X, Patreon, Instagram. And once again, as usual, it doesn't matter which platform you're on. If you make a comment with a question or even some content, we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to walk through some videos and also give you guys anything you guys want to talk about. Shoot over a link to a video or a topic you guys want to discuss. Shoot that over. That's what we'll walk through today. All right, I think we're ready to get going here. Talofa to everyone. Welcome to another live Kava session here on the Polynesian Ice podcast. Today, I'm Lone Rangering here. Mr. Atearoa is busy in Kiwi land, taking care of his responsibilities. He may be joining us later on today in the live, but we're going to go ahead. Feel free to send over any topics you guys want to go over. We're going to have some discussions on some videos that I found that we can walk through. First, we'll probably do some updates on some sports. There's been a lot of movement in the sporting area with some Polynesians that have made some new contract signings and even some movement. So we're going to start by looking at some of those topics. We'll start in the NRL. We may talk a little bit more about Tua Tagovailoa. He just signed a blockbuster deal over 200 million bucks. Comes out to about 51 or 53 million a year. So we can talk about that a little bit. And then also there's some NRL guys that have some interesting contracts that are on the table. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into sharing the screen so we can jump into it. Once again, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, Instagram, and also on our cousin Elon Musk platform X. So let's share this here real quick. Let's start with let me see here. Let's start with Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, he just signed that 200+ million deal. So he is in good hands. Going to be the franchise quarterback for the Dolphins for sure the next 4 years. Biggest challenge Tua will have will be staying safe. He's had some fantastic showings at practice through a 70-yard touchdown pass, obviously with Tyreek Hill and all the weapons he has with A-Chain and Waddle. He's just going to be, off the charts. I'm expecting and hoping he can stay healthy, because if he stays healthy, I mean, he's in the top 5, probably even top 3 for almost every statistical category as a quarterback. And so some of these commentators are kind of, crying foul about it. But honestly, I'm really hoping Tua will have a great year this coming year with the NFL just around the corner. So this video is just some, Tua giving some answering a question on what he would tell himself. Obviously, he's a St. Louis man. I'm obviously biased towards the St. Louis Brotherhood, but let's start with that video and go from there. Let's see here. Let's pause it.
To continue to do life.
Let me see if we can get this full screen here and then restart. Yeah,
Tua
having technical difficulties today. Little rusty. We haven't had one alive in a while, so maybe that's the rust. Nacho, malo, ipufonu giai. Yep, 2 claps for Nacho. Malo. Good to see you, Nacho. So we'll go ahead and listen here. As I mentioned, Tua, he's going to give answering a question on what he would tell himself as a 14, 16-year-old young man now that he's just signed this monster deal and really is an elite quarterback in the NFL.
I think I would tell that 16-year-old Tua to continue to do life the exact way you're doing life. The lessons that I learned from 16 till now, I wouldn't change any of that. I wouldn't deviate from any of the things that I've made mistakes with, and where I found success. Like, so I would tell him, just continue to be, do what you're doing. You're going to find it. And when you find it, you found it.
Very, very interesting comment there. I mean, basically, Tua hasn't had it easy, man. I mean, I remember when Tua signed or decided to go with Alabama, people were like, what is he doing? They already have Jalen Hurts there. This guy's ruining his career by going over there. And lo and behold, it was that decision to go to Alabama, coming in at halftime for that national championship game, bringing Alabama back and winning is really what launched Tua on the national stage. Everyone was saying he should have gone to Oregon or a Pac-10 or Pac-12 school, get the starting job. He took a path that was, for all intents and purposes, did not look like the easy path. Then he has his injuries. I was really hoping he would, have a great second year at Alabama and hopefully win a second Heisman Trophy for St. Louis. But that hip injury, which to his credit came back from, that could have been career ending. He really worked hard, came back, first round draft pick, now franchise quarterback with a blockbuster deal with the Miami Dolphins. So really, congratulations to Tua. That's an exciting signing for Polynesians. That's a big deal at the most important position in football. And so really excited to see that and see what Tua has been able to accomplish over there. There's been a couple other interesting signings that have come up. We're going to watch one of those. Hopefully these videos, I have no Australia. They're pretty finicky, with blocking videos. So we're going to do some Australian video here with some NRL players. But yeah, 100% Kingpin. It's a big deal. I mean, this is massive. Marcus Mariota obviously getting drafted in the first round as the first major Polynesian in the quarterback position. Now, with injuries and challenges, he hasn't been as successful. And I'll just plug in there another St. Louis man from my high school in Hawaii. And then with Tua, there is no ceiling now, right? Tua's just busted through, and he's now, the expectation is and the idea that it can be achieved is across the board. So yeah, that is a big deal. We're gonna let me see here. We're gonna look at another one, and this is Daniel Tupou. He is the wing for the Sydney Roosters. He was on one of those, Mate Ma'atonga original players coming over when Jason Taumalolo and Andrew Fifita came over and really started that movement with all the Polynesian players and probably even, PNG players, and really the Rugby League International game just skyrocketed with the Mate Ma'atonga starting that trend and moving over. And this video here is just kind of a discussion. Daniel Tupou's up there. He's getting a little bit older in a young man's game, but the Roosters, very strong team, strong performers, a lot of history, and they just extended his contract for another 2 years, which is really a testament to the belief that they have in Daniel Tupou and what he brings to the table as a leader and as an athlete. So we'll listen in here real quick on the update. I'm on Daniel Tupou real quick.
Tupou doesn't attract the same headlines as other Roosters stars, but he's certainly one of the most valued players at the club. The winger has signed a new 2-year deal with the Tricolours, who want him to lead the next generation.
After more than a decade in the spotlight, we still don't know much about one of the Roosters legends, but his love for the club is clear.
They sort of seen something with me at the time, and sort of didn't really see it myself. And then obviously coming here under Robbo and Brian Smith at the time, they really sort of molded me into the player that I am now, and I'm forever grateful.
Tupou's shaping is one of the most unlikely leaders, which will be vital next year when the Roosters lose some experienced stars.
He's just been a core part of our group for such a long time, but he's like the opposite to Jared, but the same in the spiritual sort of core of our group. He's quiet, but he's been a cornerstone of our team for such a long time.
I like the Jared sort of likeness, and I didn't realise he had that big an impact at this club.
Yeah, he's one of the most respected, like Jared, when they walk through the doors. There's an aura about Toops because of the consistency and the prep and the way that he goes about the game. There's an honour about Toops.
Robinson says Tupou transcends the club.
As far as Polynesian wingers go, I can't think of anyone better. I feel like he's done an amazing job, one of the original sort of Tongan players with Tomalolo and those guys to put Tonga on the map.
Danny Weidler, 9 News.
No, and that's what's really cool to see this signing right here. One of the players kind of on the sunset of his career extension for another 2 years. And really that's an interesting point that the coach shared is for Daniel Tupou has been the most consistent wing on that edge for the Roosters, and really one of the main staples of that team, and really had a huge impact on the Polynesian players on that wing. Now you have these young guns like Brian To'o for the Penrith Panthers, who's just doing a phenomenal job, and we'll talk about him in a little bit as well. So really, really excited to see that for Daniel Tupou. Yeah, that's a good day. Hey, Navin, I appreciate that mention. That is actually a really exciting quarterback. For those who may not be aware, I'm going to try and look him up in the background. There's a young Filipino quarterback coming out. Really came onto the national stage last year, and the impact he's had on the team, really statistically kind of very similar to Tua in some of what he's been able to accomplish, kind of jumping up to the national stage. And Arizona quarterback, I think it's what, Fifita? Is that his last name? I think that's his last name. Yes, I think this is him. Let's see. Let me share this tab and bring it up. So that I appreciate that comment there, Navin. Really, really impressive kid here coming up. So this is him. He's done a really great job over there for the Wildcats. Let's see if we can get a video to play. Looks
What's
like
up,
this
everybody?
is an interview.
Welcome back to Las Vegas for Big 12 Media Days. Noah Fafita, quarterback of the Arizona Wildcats, joining me. Noah, you took over late in the season last year, and you guys really sparked a big season run. How do you think that can kind of help propel you guys this season?
Yeah, it can do a lot for us. We're kind of trying to take that momentum and take that mentality into the next season, but we also understand that it's a new conference and a new opponent. So we know it's a new year, so we're kind of just trying to move on. Last year was last
Got a
year.
good arm. Look at that.
The new Big 12, we're just going to take it.
And on the money.
Speaking of new, you guys have a new head coach. And in modern day college football, with the transfer portal, we see players leave all the time. But what does it say about this locker room that yourself and so many of your teammates decided to stay in Tucson and represent the Wildcats?
It shows the love that we have, not just for the university, but for each other. It shows the loyalty we have to each other, and I think that goes a long way.
You guys all are wearing these leis here today. What's the meaning behind that for you guys?
It's just a love and respect thing. My auntie Shawnee T Mac's mom gave it to us, so shout out to her. But just
I mean, that's the impact the Polynesian players have, is not only bringing the talent and obviously that physicality, but it changes the culture. Like they're mentioning the lays, and bringing that, it just really changes the dynamic of a team. And that's what's really kind of interesting as we watch more and more Polynesian players come into these skill positions and dominate in a variety of not only teams across the nation. I mean, Polynesians used to be kind of more like a Pac Pacific Northwest, West Coast, maybe Mountain West kind of secret weapon. That's where these teams in the Pac-12 and the Mountain West were drawing athletes that, the middle of the country and the East and the South weren't really familiar with. And now you look down in the SEC, there are Polynesians all over that. And it's because of this talent that's coming up, like this Noah Fifita quarterback here for Arizona.
sign of respect, sign of family.
Now you're going into your second year as a starter. Where do you think that you've improved the most, and what kind of player are we going to be seeing here in the fall?
Good
I'm
good
just
legs.
trying to get a better understanding for this offense
Nice.
and for the game in general. So that's kind of the big part. A lot of me is with the coaches, and I think what you're gonna see this year is a lot of special things from the team. It's not this year's not about me. It's about this team. It's about winning.
No, 100%. And the good comment here, Ugo Jamie Malo. Yeah, I mean, and it really shows here, right? He's kind of, like I said, a lot of similarities with Tua and Tua's accuracy and still having that mobility. So it's really paying off. And like, dude, last year he just blew up. Hey, Mauhau, appreciate the shout out. Malo. So once again, really exciting to see this talent being developed.
You and your best wide receiver, McMillan, have been playing forever with each other. What kind of telepathy do you guys have? Do you even have to talk on the field, or do you know exactly where he's going to be?
Hey, Navin, where in is he from? The West Coast somewhere, Navin? Where is he from? It seems like one of the wide receivers came with him. And yeah, no, that's what's crazy, Kingpin, man. Like, there are so many of these athletes that we're just not aware to a lot because they're in specific regions, especially when you go into other schools that you may not be following all the all the time. Oh, it looks like he's from California, Orange County. Malo. So California is where he comes from, and he's a Filipino Tongan, I believe. So pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of chemistry there for sure. I like the word telepathy. I ain't never heard that word before. So there's a lot of trust. I trust that he's gonna be where he needs to be, and even more so, I know that every time a play needs to be made, you can trust him before.
Look at that, good
What are some of the
accuracy while
biggest changes
rolling
that we're
out.
going to see
Impressive.
with
He had a
Coach
great year
Brennan's
last year.
input now as the head man in Tucson?
I think we're just gonna have to wait and see. We got a lot of things to look forward to from fall camp into season. But like I said, the team's in a really good spot, and a lot of credit goes to Coach Brennan. But we have a long way to go.
Speaking of a lot of new places you guys are going to be traveling to this year, what's the one that you're most excited to go play in front of a new crowd in a new city?
Sure, the best stadium we're gonna play in this year is Arizona Stadium in Tucson. So we're looking forward to every home game we get.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, Noah. Back to you guys in the studio.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome to see that and see him do that. And I appreciate the info from the viewers here. So Steve Fifita, he was a D tackle with the Utes undefeated team. Oh man, that was a great team that Utah had. So looks like he comes from good stock, obviously. Great to see that. I mean, look at that. I mean, the stereotypical DT. Now we're moving into, oh, dude, what a Bears read my mind, right? Not the stereotypical position for us Polynesians anywhere on the QB. Yeah, across the board. Those were all the guys. That's a great point. All those quarterbacks that really, broke that barrier and allowed these younger QBs to have more opportunity at college, because that's where it's got to start, right? You got to get more opportunities in college. And a lot of these guys you mentioned here, and even Tuyasa Sopo and Masoli over there in the Canadian Football League. I'm not sure where Moyal went. Not as familiar with him, but great point there, Water Bears. Those guys really had a huge impact on it. And then now we're having franchise quarterbacks signing $53 million a year contracts. So pretty exciting stuff. So yeah, appreciate you bringing Noah Fifita to the group here, Navin Malo. I know that's what's interesting. Nacho is, I mean, man, it seems like every year it's the number of the skilled players are going up, and it's just because we're finally getting, familiar with the process, getting more people involved, and expanding our skill sets and having more access. Because really, positions like quarterback, really it just comes down to access to the skill sets being trained. We know we have the natural talent, but that natural talent still has to be refined, has to be built up. No, I appreciate it. Confirmed. Orange County, Servite High School in Anaheim. So I appreciate that. I want my son to play QB all of a sudden. Hey, start him young. That's what the Mannings did, right? Look at the newest Manning. He probably started when he was born. The moment he was born, he was sleeping with the football. But pretty exciting to see all these Polynesian athletes do really well. No, appreciate you guys bringing that up. Any others that you guys want to kind of take a look at on the call, just shoot that over. Yep, 100%. That's what Uku was saying earlier, or Jamie was saying earlier. So really a great team. One of my favorite things when Urban Meyer went from Utah and he went over to Florida, and I was watching an interview and they asked him, it's like, hey, what's the biggest thing that you learned at your time? Because I think he went from Bowling Green to Utah and then he went to Florida. And in the specific one I was watching, Urban Meyer goes, Polynesians, right? Because I think Bowling Green is in Kentucky. So Urban Meyer didn't have the exposure to the Polynesian pipeline of talent. Coming to University of Utah, gets direct exposure to that talent. And, he goes to the SEC, and that's definitely something he tried to tap into. Hey, Togo, Malo, appreciate it. Welcome to the digital Kava session. Appreciate all the support all the way from the land down under, Malo East. The next one that we're gonna take a look at is Brian To'o. And really, I guess this is coming off of a little bit of drama. And this is, I'm not going to play this one because the NRL is infamous for blocking our videos. Oh, Yahweh. East. Go ahead and you go. Oh, that one was for Nacho. Go ahead, Nacho. Kingpin hasn't forgotten you. Tamay ay wipu fun all the way. Oh, ipu fa mamahi. So a big cup of Kava for Nacho, directly from Kingpin himself. So we're not going to play this video here, but we will just look at the article. And it's about Brian To'o, and it looks like, the guy's on fire, he's having a killer season. He's also did really well at the State of Origin. And if you guys haven't seen, Homeboy was seen 24 hours after winning the State of Origin and still in his uniform. So basically, the beef that I guess Brian To'o is having right now is he's feeling he is undervalued, which is probably true. Same thing. I mean, you could say the same thing about what's his name, who went to the Bulldogs, Crichton. Obviously, he was severely undervalued staying, if he were to stay with the Panthers, right? So he got the paycheck, and they probably still got him at a good deal. That's something that's really, really unique. So this is definitely, we're going to see more now that our athletes are getting more exposure, more understanding. They're going to speak up more and expect more on their compensation. So I like this story because it's going into professional sports. It's a window. And I think that's what our athletes in our community is starting to understand. It's a young man's sport to be in sports. You have to take advantage and maximize the output in that short window that you have while you're young, while you're healthy, with no injuries, and you have the leverage. You got to leverage your talent as much as possible during that window that your value is high. Because we all know the franchises, once your value diminishes, they're going to let you go and move on. So really, our athletes are really getting a lot more intelligent and really up to negotiating their contract. So it's really good to see Brian To'o bringing this up, having those conversations, because that puts pressure on the franchise, and it also lets the rest of the market know if Mr. Brian is not happy, if Bizza's not happy, he may be available to the highest bidder. Oh yeah, we're up the Blues. Always special when you beat Queensland at home, making history. Yeah, that was, that's a lot of history to go against. I don't know, have they ever? No, I think it was just one other time that they beat Queensland in foreign territory on a decider. So that was definitely a historic win. I'm not as dedicated to one team or the other. Same thing the way I approach college football. Besides BYU has a little bit of a special spot for me in my heart, being an alumni there and playing football there, and rugby. But I was going for the Blues just because they had more Polynesians. Mr. Aotearoa was going for Queensland because Kaufusi and what was the other gentleman, the other Tongan, Hikamanu, I think, or someone. I can't remember the other forward that was on the the Reds that or the Maroons that Mussy was cheering for. But I was pretty happy that the Blues won, Navin. This is an interesting comment. And not to mention the NIL deals that are going on for the kids in the millions. Before we get into that, oh yeah, we Fakaofa Nacho. Yeah, this is the kind of go to the bathroom and never see you come back. Eh? We know these kind of guys, Kingpin. It's like, oh, see you next week. But I do want to revisit this because we did record an interview with a guest, and we looked at the Katy Football Stadium, which is here in Texas. A lot of people underestimate how much Texans are willing to spend on their high school football. And there, I won't do the one that we looked at because that should want to keep that fresh for you guys. But just to kind of Texas high school football stadium, and we won't even go with the most expensive one. We'll just go with the 35. I believe it's let me see. Oh, actually, you know what? This we'll go with this one. For everyone listening, imagine this. $200 million high school. Can you imagine that? Right? So I'm going to share this. We'll walk through this real quick because it'll go over their stadium, their high school, and it's related. It's related to Waterbear's comment here with the NIL deals. But just to kind of give everyone an idea of the magnitude that high school sports, and especially high school football, and especially in Texas, like we always tell people, everything's big in America and everything's bigger in Texas. So check this out, guys. Check this out.
Touchdown. This is a brand new program. Ball's on the ground and it's scooped up by ESD. What you're doing is not good enough.
We are a brand new school.
I don't think there's any better facilities in the country.
Feels like a college.
So let's go to work. Yeah!
Welcome to Walnut Grove. This is our cafeteria. It's super big. Walnut.
Let's do this. So Walnut Grove High School in Texas, right? Let's just pull that up so you guys can see. I think it's up north. See if we can pull up a map so we can just kind of have everyone see where this is. So that's Walnut Grove. Let's see, where are we? Oh, north of Dallas, Louisville. Okay, yeah, north of Dallas. This is definitely some Richie Rich. I mean, you got the Allen Eagles here. You got some major high schools here with hundreds of millions of dollars spent on their high schools. So that's where it is. So there's Dallas, there's Fort Worth, and then there's right here, right there in Euless. We'll zoom in. Minnetonka, right? Used to live in this area. Really strong Polynesian community there, feeding Trinity High School. That is, probably, I don't know. I think they're throwing the ball a little bit more, but when I was there in the, 2012, 2013 were a heavy run. The only really dominant running team that would go deep into the playoffs for the state tournament for football would be out of Euless. But yeah, so that's where Walnut Grove High School is. But let's come back and take a look at this. I mean, look at their cafeteria here. It's basically a college campus.
It has Pizza Hut, Sonic 2, Jimmy John's, the Iron Skillet. There is a lot of cool things, but I usually bring my lunch from home. Now we're in the library. As you see right here, these are our trophy cases, which are currently empty because we are a brand new school. We don't have much to display. This is actually our broadcast studio here. Live from the Grove, I'm Sharka Call.
And I'm Tyler Medeiros.
It's easy to get lost. This is engineering. Personally not in robotics, so I couldn't very thoroughly explain anything, but looks cool. One of my friends had to come and charge the solar car because they're going to be using the car for the parade tonight.
I want them to get, let's get to the sports facilities.
To get 52 miles an hour on the clock.
They even have
We
an
have
e-gaming.
sports, but we also have
esports.
esports. What game are you playing right now, currently?
I'm playing Valorant right now.
Okay, and they did win at state last year. We're gonna go see the arena. Currently being
Look at that! Look at that gym
pep
for
rally
basketball and volleyball.
We go all out for pep rallies. Have one of the football team captains here with us.
I'm John Hudson. I'm a junior.
Firing for the end zone. He's got Hudson all alone. Grove touchdown.
Right now we're at the indoor. I think that's one of the cooler parts. The eyes of like the Wildcat.
Crazy.
And then weight room. It's probably
Look at this weight room, man. It's probably better than any.
I'm Haston Fansel.
I'm Grant Frazier.
This is our weight room.
This weight room is probably better than any professional sports rugby team around the world. I doubt that there'd be a rugby team that would have a better facility than what you're going to see here.
It is insane.
Obviously, we have a really nice weight room. It's the top of the line.
Look at that.
Everything's the newest, improved stuff. It's kind of like a private school, but it's a public school.
It's by far the best weight room I've been in.
Our coaches bring a ton of energy into that weight room.
Look at that. It's a massive weight room. Anyways, I wanted to bring that up for a couple reasons, and it's directly related to the NIL comment that we had earlier, right? Let me see if I can find it. But this is what the NIL deal with colleges is going to do. High schools are going to feel that pressure to provide facilities to attract high school athletes. These high school athletes, now that everybody understands, I don't have to wait to get to the NFL to be a millionaire, right? I can be a millionaire in college. This is what's going to happen. You're going to see more of these hundreds of millions of dollar high schools that are going to start popping up to try and attract the talent, because people will relocate if they understand, dude, I can be a millionaire my first year in college through NIL, which is just crazy. And hey, Clyde Moore, Malo, welcome. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really crazy. Like you're saying, Kingpin, this gym is top notch. You're not going to find, I went and saw UH's gym when I was in high school, and dude, this is light years ahead. Maybe UH has updated their gym since I visited in high school. But this just takes it to another level. High school football player, 13 years old, came to Utah 2 weeks ago for some small football event. He got paid $40K to be here. I was told, yeah, this is the pressure is going to filter down to high school, right? And these high schools are going to have to compete to get the talent. When I was at St. Louis in Hawaii, all the people in Kahuku will be like, oh, St. Louis wins because they recruit. And it's partially true. But when I looked at the Kahuku sideline, I was like, hey, that guy, he's from California. Oh, that guy, he's from Utah. Oh, that guy is from Washington, right? Or this guy doesn't even live in Kahuku, but he's coming over to Kahuku and goes to school there. It's that same thing. The only difference is millions of dollars are being injected to that on a massive scale. You already see schools out in Nevada. What's the name of that school in Nevada that was on a good streak of, national championships? And they were pulling kids from Hawaii, from St. Louis, from Kahuku, going over there. We're even seeing that, kids from Kahuku, that quarterback that was offered to Michigan. All of a sudden he gets national attention, and then he's going to the East Coast to play high school. It's crazy. So this is this phenomena is only going to get crazier and crazier, and we're only going to see bigger and bigger facilities for high schools. But it's just mind-boggling what's going on at the high school level over there. Let's see here. Here's an interesting. We're going to come back to the Roosters, and this is an interesting situation here. I didn't know a lot about Spencer Lemieux. Like let's share the tab first, Tua, before we get into it. So Spencer Lemieux plays for the Roosters. He's the guy that I think had some controversy for calling someone a monkey, maybe because they were playing in America where race relations are a little bit complicated. That's the driver behind it, that him saying monkey became a whole issue. But this guy, I mean, I didn't know much about him, but watching him through, because he got selected for the state of origin, but didn't really see a lot of him. But dude, all of a sudden I'm starting to see his highlights and stuff, and the guy is pretty legit. So he just got a 200K bonus extra per season. So really cool to see that. You know, some of these guys are just, clubs are starting to fork out the money. And like I say, everybody can say what they want to say, but there's not a domestic competition in the world that can touch the NRL. For me, that is the premier rugby, whether it's union or league. NRL, for me, the product, the quality of the athletes, the size, the stability of the competition, to me personally, NRL is untouchable in regards to rugby domestic competitions. Really interesting. Yeah, question here from Clymer. What's in it for these tuition? No, these are all public school in Texas, man. It's just bragging rights, in my opinion. It's bragging rights. They got the money. Everything's bigger in Texas, so they build these $200 million facilities. They want to win football. If there's one thing, you know, Friday Night Lights, Texas made that saying go big on the screen. But yeah, 100%. It's crazy stuff to see their Clyde Moore. No disagreement from me right there. So really cool to see this. Spencer Lemieux getting, you know, bonus structure added to his contract. These clubs are starting to see the value in their, you know, especially clubs like the Roosters they're kind of like the Steelers in the NFL, right? And maybe the Ravens, where there's this longevity of ownership. There's a really strong culture of loyalty, and these are the little gestures that will probably keep Spencer there much longer, just like Daniel Tupou and a lot of these other athletes. So really like what I'm seeing from the Roosters and how they're able to maintain, because, you know, somebody starts performing really well, people start knocking on the door, the checkbook gets bigger and bigger. Yeah, no, 100%. That's the norm now. High school recruiting, and really, what's happened is it's always been happening to some degree, like you're saying, Water Bears, but with the NIL injecting millions of dollars into the college level, that means millions of dollars are going to go into the high school level, because these young athletes are going to be motivated to move across the country to do whatever it is that they can do to get into the best NIL deal they can get to coming into college. So basically, what 15 years ago guys were doing to position themselves for the NFL draft is what they're going to do in high school now. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, that just means the competitiveness for high school football, the amount of money is just going to skyrocket, and it'll continue that way, especially in states like Texas that has the history, the enthusiasm, and then the most important thing, the checkbook to go along with that enthusiasm for Friday Night Lights. All right. Let's see here. Let's see who's next. Or did we get through all of the signings I wanted to get through here? So let me just go back here. Spencer Lemieux. Yeah, I think those were the major ones I wanted to cover here real quick. I don't know, but it sounds one more NRL kids going to Joey Manu. He's also from the Roosters. Seems like just a Rooster show today. I didn't think about that. I was just saving them, but he's going to rugby union, and so that's going to change some things. 1-on-1 always equals 2, though I wonder if the money spent is through charity tax write-offs, because ain't no way Meals for the Love. Well, the taxpayers, man, if there's one thing, I love Texas. I love living here. There's no income tax. The one thing that I'm not super excited about is my property taxes. 2 to 3 times more than what I'm typically used to. So, we're in one of our upcoming interviews, we're going to look at a 75 million. This is just a stadium, $75 million stadium, and it's all through public funding through taxpayers. So, yeah, it's the school districts, right? With the property taxes, that's what they're bringing in. As long as the taxpayers vote for it and approve it, they're going to go for it, right? And I think for that stadium that you'll see when we release the interview that we did, they initially wanted over 100 million just for the stadium itself, and the taxpayers voted it down. So, hey, yeah, yep. The tolls is how they replace it. Dude, I hope they do that, man. The only problem is government. I mean, I remember when they would say certain things like these toll lanes, they say, hey, the toll is only going to be for 10, 15 years, to pay it off and get the investment. 10, 15 years after the fact, they still paying tolls. So, yeah, good point. Hopefully that's the way it goes, David, because I'm not super excited about my tax bill every year. And that 100%, the power of the population, not only the number of people, but also just the value of certain properties, especially when we were looking at that school north of Dallas. A lot of Californians, a lot of the rich people are going up there. Tax them to death for all I care. Here's another comment here. What do you think about the Matematonga success? Bring a lot of new Tongan League players for today, but it's been a shift of more Samoan talent that rose since Matematonga became popular 2 World Cups ago. No, I agree. I mean, the Samoans have some really great young talent, especially Crichton and Jerome Luai. Those two, and that's where we were weakest. The Matematonga was the weakest at the halves. The young kid from the Dolphins, his name's skipping me right now, but he's developing really well. As long as we can keep these guys coming back, like David Fifita, if we could keep Kayon from the Rabbitohs to keep coming, we can do a lot. What's funny for these guys? Mr. Aotearoa, man, he is all ready to move on from Wolf. So I'm a little bit more slow paced on that, but Mr. Aotearoa, man, he gives you 2 years, and if you can't make things happen, Aotearoa is like, next. He said, you did a great job building up the first team, but it's time to win a World Cup. But yeah, what I really want to talk about that is I'm hoping that leagues growth on the international game will put some pressure on World Rugby. World Rugby has been sitting around, guaranteed trying to get the talent out of the Polynesian islands themselves, but also in New Zealand and Australia. But the NRL's growth and continue to be a dominant domestic game. I mean, they dominate the views on television. There's like nobody close. I mean, the All Blacks and the Wallabies were, was it like 4 or 5 years ago? The best game they had was like number 20 in the amount of people who watched them. Obviously, State of Origin topped everybody, and then multiple NRL games were rated higher than the All Blacks versus the Wallabies. So, I think the Rugby Australia went a little woke, and they're suffering the broke part of going woke. But yeah, I think we're still in a good position there, Uku, and I think we can still make a good run and hopefully win a Rugby World Cup. Now that Australia, which is even better. We're going to get a lot of support for the Mate Tonga over there in Australia, so that could be a big deal for us. All right, let me see here. We're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about something really quick. As you guys may know, we did bring up this topic previously in the past, and it really had to do with the Tongan government basically not giving Starlink a license to operate in Tonga. They tried to pull they don't have a license, so we got to shut them down, which is kind of ridiculous. Obviously, one of my classmates, I think he's kind of like the lead engineer for telco over there, and the government comes out, we got to follow the law, we have to do, which is just a total sham. We all know that is not the reason why they're not giving Starlink a license. It has something to do fear of competition. Maybe they're expecting Elon to pay to play. I don't know. But the guy's flying rockets out into space, releasing satellites, and then those same rockets are coming down and landing upright. Okay? Don't tell me if it's that difficult to get a business license in Tonga, then Tonga needs to figure out how to make it easier. Maybe the reason why there's lack of investment because you guys are making the licensing part a little too complicated. Anyways, long story short, it's like a act of God. They shut down Starlink, which is the only reliable internet in Tonga. We're trying to have more episodes with Daniel Fale in Tonga, and the internet just sucks. Unfortunately, we've got him set up. He has his mic, he has his headphones, his computer, and everything, camera. Only one problem: internet connectivity is terrible and keeps dropping, so it's very difficult to shoot. We've only had success on one episode. But what's hilarious is the Tongan government, because we gotta keep the law, shut down Starlink, and then an earthquake happens and the outer islands cable gets destroyed. And so they have no internet out there and no way to resolve it, right? Because what's Tonga going to do? We don't got the skills to go out there and fix the cable ourselves. We got to ask for help. Eventually that pressure leads to all of a sudden the laws don't matter. Elon Musk announces that Starlink is, let's get rid of this. Come on, Google, get out of here. Musk posted right here the announcement on his social platform X, previously known as Twitter. Starlink website sales have not kicked off. It will start working and activating the Tongan currency so people can buy. Oh, this is my buddy that I went to school with, Stan. I actually played rugby league with him. I think we played on the national team together, but I'm getting old, forgetting a lot of things. So Space CEO Elon Musk announced that Starlink internet services were now operational in 102 countries after launching services in the island nation of Tonga. So now that nature slapped around our government, all of a sudden the law doesn't matter, right? Even my brother here was saying, we got to keep the law. That's why we can't do this, this, and that. But now that they're put under the pressure, then they're saying, like you said, Starlink website sales have not kicked off. They're going to sell in the local currency. It's up to Starlink to get up and running as soon as possible. I don't think that'll be too difficult for our cousin Elon Musk. A third of Tonga's population has had no internet for over a month now, and officials are blaming an earthquake. Yes, an earthquake happened, but I wouldn't blame the earthquake. I would blame the fact that you tried to posture against the richest man in the world, arguably the greatest inventor and manufacturer in the world and of our time. That's the reason why. Don't blame the earthquake. Earthquake was going to happen. Earthquake happens. That doesn't affect Elon Musk's satellites. Hey, Kurt, welcome. Malo, welcome to the Kava session, Toko. Which brings out another interesting. Actually, I think we have a video of this, and it really has to do with what's the strategy that developing nations should have in the integration of technology. Because right now Tonga's waiting to fix that cable. Who knows how long that's going to take? But really, it comes down to the deep sea cable is technology of the past. I'm kind of leaning towards the government should look at it as a backup, emergency, and the primary should be Starlink, and really get ahead of that. That's the future. So trying to invest more into the infrastructure of the past doesn't give Tonga the competitive edge for the future, and that's what the Tongan government should be looking at, is making Starlink the primary source of internet services. That's where the majority of the airlines are going to start heading. That's where the majority of the developed world's going to go. If Tonga's smart, get ahead of the game, stop pouring money into technologies of the past, give cousin Elon Musk a Tongan passport and say, you want to do anything in Tonga, let us know. But really, well, let me see if I can find the video I was referencing, and then we'll take a look at a video of prisons in El Salvador. So not here. So maybe it was on my right here. We'll pause it. It was on the YouTube channel or YouTube list. So this is a question that Elon gets asked about climate change, and I think he also discussed on the concept that I was mentioning earlier about skipping, right? Don't get stuck in the technology of the past. For example, Tonga's not going to go back and really invest into checking or checks, right? They've moved on. You're not going to build out landlines. You're going to go to mobile services. This is the same thing with the internet. The deep sea cable is yesterday's technology. Stop pouring money into that. Pour money into the technology of the future. Elon Musk kind of mentions this a little bit as he discusses climate change.
People on Earth, and it would be better if there were none.
That's dark.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
very
like,
dark.
hey, buddy, you can start with yourself.
Yeah.
See if you really want to, make a difference. How about take your own advice here? But that's like a crazy viewpoint. That's like literally saying let's genocide humanity. I'm like, what? How can you say that with a straight face? That sounds like.
And this is coming from the guy who's probably done more for the climate change than any other person with Tesla, right? Not just the cars, but the batteries, because I work in the solar space. That's a huge component of the future is the battery technology. And so the really important thing is some of these people don't play out the ideas. You have to think your ideas through and see how they play out, right? Like this idea of, human beings are the cancer. Well, play that out in your mind a little bit. What do we do with cancerous cells? We destroy them. So got to be a little bit more thoughtful about the ideas that you adopt. Granted, we want renewable energy, we want independent energy. Those are all great things, but those are to benefit humanity, not to destroy humanity. And sometimes we get carried away with the hoopla of renewable, which is great. I love it. That's the space I'm in professionally. But we also have to be really understand the proper perspective for that space.
Total madness. But people, like I said, in the limit of environmentalism, it sort of becomes like an ingrown toenail. You know, it's sort of like, yeah, toenail's fine, but not if it's like warped and ingrown. It's just gone too far. Humanity is not a blight on the face of the earth, and frankly, even with climate change, life on Earth will still continue. I mean, the calamities that Earth has suffered, where life continued afterwards, like gigantic meteorite impacts, super volcanoes, the continents drifting all over the place. There have been times in Earth's past where it's been like a total snowball, or it's been absolutely sweltering hot. And life, we had many extinction events, but there were, but life continued. But we don't see the dinosaurs now, but they've had a good run for
They had a good run.
over 100+ million years. So even if there's catastrophic climate change on Earth, life continues. It just may not be the life as we know it. It may not be humans, it'll be something else. So what we're talking about with climate change is not a threat to all life on Earth, but really maybe a threat to humans or a dislocation of humans if there's low-lying countries that the water level rises and now they're underwater type of thing. So I think one just needs to strike the right balance by saying, like, look, over time we need to move to a sustainable energy economy, and we can't just keep taking billions of tons of carbon from deep underground and putting it in the atmosphere and expect nothing will happen forever.
Yeah.
But we also don't.
No, and that's a wise approach to it. I'm 100% behind that thinking. Is we want renewable energy. Really, at the decrease in pricing that's happening, who knows what the future could be. With solar, I'm in the solar space. The cost of solar is continuing to improve. Solar is not the one-stop solution for everything, right? Because not all places are as productive for solar as are across the board. Some places are better than others, but solar is one of the solutions to a multi-layered approach to build renewable and sustainable and efficient energy that allows human activity to flourish.
Don't need to be alarmist about it and super negative and massively disrupt people's lifestyles. I mean, I think people can continue to live a normal life.
Yes.
And they shouldn't be guilty about being human or sort of, frankly, having a steak. It's fine.
Yeah, it all, something that strikes me with that agenda as well, and people who push it, is it also.
Yeah. So I mean, that's he mentions later on that, actually, this is, I think they're going to go into it right now. They're going to talk about, investing in the future technology rather than throwing money into the old technology. And sometimes you skip, right? You skip technology phases.
So seems like Western countries climbing the ladder and then pulling the ladder up after them, right? So when you have large developing nations somewhere like India, lots of parts of Africa and so on, and it's like, okay, the Western nations have gone through this whole process to even get to a stage where you can afford to care about such things. You've got other nations that are developing and they're trying to get up to the level of prosperity that, say, the USA has right now. And you want them to care about the environment, but it's like, people are still poor. People are not going to care about the environment until they've got their basic needs met. So there's
No, 100%. I agree with that. You can come to talk to someone about heaven, teach them about Jesus, but if they're literally starving right in front of you, you're not going to get much success. Feed them, take care of them, take care of that immediate need, and then you're actually teaching them about God through that service and helping take care of the immediate need, and then you can have those conversations after the fact. I kind of agree with that position that's being shared there. Comment here real quick. How about Nikola Tesla, free energy to come back? I'm definitely one of those that don't believe nothing is for free, but you can get renewable, right? There's going to be an initial investment, but that's what I'm saying. We don't know where the future is going to lead, and there may be some interesting opportunities for some new energy sources or the further refinement of the energy sources that we have now to really drive down the cost of energy. And so I don't know about you guys, man, but my groceries bill has been killing me the last 3 years. And it all starts with the energy. If you can get your energy at a low cost, everything downstream gets cheaper. If your energy is expensive, it's needed for manufacturing, it's needed for the stores, it's needed for transport, it's needed for everything. And so, if you can solve the energy challenge, you have significant benefits downstream if you can solve that. We'll go ahead and just finish this video. It's got a couple minutes.
Part of it where it's this it's this sort of belief system that I think is very, what's the right term? It's almost like to use a Rob Henderson term, it's like a luxury belief, right? It's like, okay, it's all good for you to view things that way, but if you think about the average person in many parts of the developing world, they can't afford to be thinking this way. They still need to get up to at least the basic level that our countries are in.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I agree with what you just said, but I also think that the cost of sustainable energy has been dropping tremendously, and you're seeing a lot more wind and solar, and pair that with the battery, and you've got continuous power from wind and solar. That's actually very competitive. So cost competitive, and
it continues to get more competitive over time. So that's definitely something interesting there.
Actually, one of the nice things about, say, solar battery is you don't need to run high power lines all over the place. You can have some localized solar battery situation on your house or factory building, or you can kind of decentralize the power generation.
And to me, that's one of the most intriguing parts about solar is that independence, right? If you have solar panels and you have batteries, then if the grid goes down, you're independent and you can continue to function and live the lifestyle that you have in that, microgrid that you've developed for yourself. That to me is really a very intriguing part of the solar and the renewable part is with the batteries is the amount of independence it can give you.
I think that's actually better for people to have decentralized power generation, and also decentralized communications. Like a lot of places, they skipped all the sort of phone landline stuff and went to cell phones.
Yes.
In fact, a lot of places in the world have way better cell connectivity than Silicon Valley, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
No, 100%. So really interesting there. Glad to see Tonga is going to figure that out. We definitely need internet connectivity there. I mean, Starlink's going to be huge for all of the Pacific, really all the world in an isolated place. It's really going to revolutionize those countries and the experience of those people in their lives. So let me see here. This one I'm hoping to get some thoughts from the viewers on this video. Actually, I'm going to look. This one is not the full video that I wanted, but basically, I don't know if you guys are aware. There's a little bit of I think this is it. Yeah, there's a little bit of. Let me see. Let me skip this. There's a little bit of drama going on with Tongan Koloa. And I guess some of the what do we call it? Fake Tongan Koloa? The counterfeit. That's the word I'm looking for. Counterfeit Tongan Koloa. Wanted to play this. Wanted to see what the viewers' thoughts are. Is this a real problem? Also, I kind of thought that It's kind of some fake news going on at the same time, but just wanted to see what everybody's thoughts are. Is this really a really bad thing, or is this just a natural part of commercialization, and how these copycats might impact the real product? But interested to see what everybody thinks about this. Stop it every once in a while. If you have a comment or a thought, put it in the chat and we'll bring it up.
Tongan women produce koloa. We weave, we make tapa. And koloa equals treasure. Women in Tonga make treasure.
Tapa cloth, fine mats, and ta'awala. In Tongan culture, all of this is koloa or treasure. Tongan women gather koloa not for wealth, but to fulfill our cultural obligations to our families and communities.
I think that's arguable. I mean, the whole thing is about wealth, though I understand the concept. It's for cultural events, but the koloa is a representation of wealth, whether direct or indirect. But with the use of cash, it's a direct representation of wealth in many ways.
Lea koe me kohiri, koe tu marie pe ko haki fefine o ki ai hane koloa whakatonga.
Koloa is important because it's intergenerational, both the art form and the finished piece. We will wear them, gift them, and pass them down to future generations. But what if these pieces we so highly prize weren't being made in Tonga? This might look like a fine Tongan mat, but it was made here in this small Fala factory in Indonesia. And Facebook pages like this one constantly advertise koloa to Tongan customers around the world. I saw on Facebook some advertising of falafihu, which is white, fine.
Hey, what up, Bears? What's going on over there? Oh, Mahalo, are you getting bored with the topic? Maybe you want to talk about Kamala? Yahweh. Someone give Wara Bears a big ipu fono to Wara Bear. Maria. Hey, Lango, welcome. Mahalo, thank you for stopping by. Hey, I love the... Is that a game? Are you a gamer, Lango? Lango the Great? Appreciate it, man. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's some people talking about it. They're going to get into what they're trying to represent as I guess, a problem. I don't know. I mean, if people are stealing your money, that's one thing. But there's a reason why these Indonesian options are popping up, because go and try and find a really nice fala or ta'ovala and tell me how much it costs, because it ain't cheap, right? And I don't really have a problem with it. Let the market work itself out on what the price is. But there's a reason why. There's economic pressure that's leading to these quote unquote counterfeits. We see it with the Louis Vuittons, the Gucci. This is not something that's like a phenomenon that we don't see in other places. When there are things of great value, you're going to find things like that. Oh, yeah. Olympic update. Tonga has won. Yahweh. Is this swimming in a Kava bowl, Kurt? and is Kamala the Toa for Wara Bears in this Olympic competition? Yahweh. That's hilarious, guys. Yep, Kurt and Wara Bears, you both get giant cup coming your way. No, 100%. You know that I agree 100%. Uku. This is something that is not a phenomenon that we should be like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. These things happen when you make things of value, right? I mean, what year was it? 2012. I was sitting with a couple of the founders of Ethereum in New York, and they were still in the white paper stage, or little pretty past. They were, getting ready to launch Ethereum, and super smart guys were sitting there in at a pub there in New York, and these guys were talking about how they're going to, totally decentralize everything. Government's not going to have any power over it. And I was just looking at these guys. I was like, for how smart you guys are, you have no idea what's going to happen. And I try to express to them that they shouldn't be shunning being regulated, and that they should see being regulated as a positive thing. That means you're being accepted. That means adoption of cryptocurrencies is very high, and you should welcome regulation, because there's no way you're going to escape it, right? There's no way the mafia is going to allow you to come in and run your little thing without their cut. And that's what the government is. Uncle Sam and all governments around the world will not allow you to run a financial system that they do not have oversight and have control and have a piece of the pie. There's no way around that. This is the same thing I'm seeing with the Koloa Whakatonga. When you see these things going for thousands and thousands of dollars, it's understandable that you would get counterfeits, because everybody is not going to be excited to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get those things, especially if the quality is there, especially if it looks similar to it, and even more if you can't tell the difference. So I just kind of think it's funny. I don't know if they're trying to play the feel sorry for me, it's my cultural thing. I understand that, but that doesn't make it like more of a problem. It's just, if people are scamming you, they're scamming you. That's not a good thing, but nothing wrong with copycats. The only problem I see if that is if they're selling it to you as if a Tongan made it, or if they're saying the quality is of a certain standard, but it's not. Those are the issues, but it's a financial transaction. So we'll see. Oh yeah, holomui, Kurt. Don't get the gold medal, Kurt. Drink it all. Yep, that's the one from Indonesia they were mentioning earlier, Water Bears. Holomui mokoe, Water Bears. You and Kamala share a cup together.
Woven mat, and the thing is, it actually had Tongan motifs and also symbols that are uniquely Tongan. So I wrote them and said, how do we pay it? And the price was like a third or a quarter of what you normally pay for.
That's the first red light, right? When someone says it's Louis Vuitton, but it's like a third of the price of Louis Vuitton, red flag, right? And I mean, when I say red flag, it's not that it's a red flag you're not going to buy it. I think it's a red flag. Be aware that if you buy it, that's what you may be buying. And if that's what you're okay with, that's what you're okay with. Oh, yeah, wait. I think they're doing that with Kumetes. 100%. 100%.
Really sent, that money, and then after that they blocked me, and it was really, really disappointing.
Yeah, and that's where the problem is, right? Fraud. That's not going to fly across the board. So not surprised that sometimes happens. It happens all over, whether it's Tongan, Fijian, Samoan. There's fraud all over the place, America. So that's not something that's unique to our Polynesian people.
Want to try it out, because these mats, they look familiar with the Tongan mats. They stole the picture from the Facebook. They see the pattern. They see that you can put pulasi on the sides. But Indonesians, they pull up the picture from Facebook and they see that fella and they will make it exactly the same fella.
Many women in Tonga take up la'alanga or weaving to financially support the families.
Kako ne mau me bu fai ko a mo hoko yau ko ma alpe ke ha ko he kolisi ko ma foki me pe ko tu ko nge tau wala ko ma ha bu wala la ma ilo foko ma totongi ako I au ko ni ka pa tu fa tau e fa fini mangea.
Look at that. Almost $5,000. That's the one thing that to me is kind of cool, right? I think it's cool because a lot of people don't realize it. When you see someone decked out in a really nice ta'avala, man, people don't realize, all these people wearing their chains and stuff. It's like, their fancy stuff. But I was like, that ta'avala is hanging with it, right? The value of it. So, yeah, you said there's basically $5,000 right there for a ta'avala. Of course. That's the pressure that's leading to these counterfeits happening.
Ko lava la langa tau wala taha I mahina taha fa mi mau pe mea e fa fe ke ni ma.
But for an Indonesian-made fala?
Right now in the market, they sell it for $400 US for 20 feet. $400 US. That's 900 paanga.
Ta ko winga e a fela ia ka kai ki mea Indonesia. Tau ila mo tau no tau fonuan ko tau masiva fa paanga. E pau pe ke tau afe tato o whakatau mea ko unga ko ni mama.
Cheaper doesn't always mean better.
Exactly.
Tongan weavers prepare their plants in a particular way, which means they'll last longer. Some buyers have shared that the Indonesian mats they purchase are prone to breaking. Tongan weavers speculate that people may have come from Indonesia to learn how to weave Tongan mats, or that they were taught by a Tongan. Either way,
and that's, no different than Louis Vuitton, right? The Louis Vuitton purse is not always going to have the same quality. Sometimes you can find some of even better quality than just the brand, but that's the thing. To me, there's a couple ways to look at this. There's the quality factor, right? Everybody's going to know when you have a real one or not. I wear the Chinese mats to church all the time. I bought them in Tonga. I bought them because they were cheap, Got 7 kids. I ain't going to spend $5,000 on a ta'avala. So if I had the money, I would, right? If I had the money, I would definitely drop it, but I don't. Maybe one day in the future. So there's a couple ways to look at it. The value of the handmade through the Tongan process maintains its value. Then you're going to have the same, counterfeits, but everybody will know it's a counterfeit. To me, it really just depends. Maybe there's some type of ways to just minimize the fraud, but I personally don't see a huge issue with it unless you're flooding the market in Tonga and the quality was the same and people are just willing to do the same. Then maybe you tax it. Maybe there's some things you can do there, but I don't see a huge issue, especially where there's a difference in the quality. Yeah, the economy is rough, but that's the thing is one could still take the position that those falas, though they, it helps someone who can't get the real thing. But if you get a real one, then it's even of greater value. No, understood counterfeit better than the fala siaina. Yes, it is. And really the big difference, like it's actually hand woven. It looks like those Indonesian ones. The difference is just the quality of the pandana sleeves, right? It looks like they're having the breakage. It's not like the ones in Tonga. I don't know if it's just the quality of the leaves or more the process that they're prepped, or maybe it's a combo of both, right? So appreciate the comments, guys. What do you guys think? Do you guys think like this is am I like underplaying it? For me personally, I will still pay. I still think the Tongan made is worth the money that it's made, but until I can afford it, I still go with the Chinese or the Indonesian, but I know what I'm getting. I'm not going to get the same thing. It's ridiculous to think that we are the only culture that has mats. This is a non-issue. The market speak. I agree. I mean, if you make a really good, and there's some beautiful ones that are, even the ones made in Tonga are not the same value, right? There are some people who can make some kaovalas that are just absolutely fabulous. And then there's other ones, they're trying to sell it, at a higher price, but it's not the same quality. You make the same determination, right? With the Indonesian and the not so good Tongan, and then there's some legit really nice ones. I don't think it's going to lose their value overall.
It's been damaging for the small business.
Pe pauton pe hanga tau pulianga to fa halau. Ila wa pe o tau te aki nau tolo a fonua no hanga o to kopi e tau me to fa halo a tau tolo. Te mo to e fra ai pe ka tau tolo ka pau ki tau to ila la ai to ki fra o fa ngi.
Exactly.
Ko ke ila wa ko ke tau to e hoko atu ko o te tau fra tau mi ko lo ko na nga o to waki ha.
I won't use.
And I think, you can't just rely. I think if you're actually flooding the market with it, the counterfeits for everything is being flooded, but the value of the real thing hasn't changed for the luxury products, because basically that's a luxury product for Tonga. The counterfeits, I guess there's certain laws for it. Yeah, maybe there's a balance there. I don't know. I think there's something to keep an eye on, but I don't think we're quite at the sky is falling yet. The Tongans raised their price. Hold your ground, and 100%. I think that's the difference right there. Is the quality of what you're giving should still stand out and hold on the pricing, in my opinion. But because at the end of the day, everybody's going to know what's fake is fake. Right. And, after it kind of gets into the market, it was like, oh, yeah, they gave us a nice fala, but it's the fake one. And then when they get a real one, they're like, oh, dang, they gave us something of great value. So that's kind of my thoughts there. I kind of agree with your position there, Clyde.
Use the Indonesian mat for any of my application or any of my occasions.
There we go.
I won't do it for a koloa for my fahu, or I won't do it for a koloa to take it to the nobles and stuff like that. I'll never use it. The only thing that I'm going to use it just for the fali.
There we go. Use it for the appropriate purpose for it. Right? Use it. It's not the right quality for like these main events like this, but for day-to-day use, yeah. I'm on board with that. I think that's the way to approach this.
The ABC has reached out to the Indonesian factory accused of making the mats and the alleged scam, as well as the Tongan sellers of these mats, but we've received no response.
Now, that's an interesting point that Joycelyn makes about copywriting this practice, because I know that other Indigenous cultures are already doing that. Like here in Australia, elements of Indigenous knowledge are protected by intellectual property laws. But can that be done in Tonga?
Well, Marian Kupu has spoken to Tonga's Ministry of Trade and Economic Development about this story, and they say that the practice of lalanga or weaving can't be protected because weaving is not only unique to Tonga.
100%.
What can be protected are the kupesi, the Tongan designs, the traditional designs displayed on those mats. Those are unique to Tonga and the Pacific.
Well, do you think that it's possible that the Indonesian mats will one day replace the koloa?
Well, there's already a push to buy and use Tongan koloa. I don't know if it's possible to stop foreign weavers from making these copycat mats, but there needs to be a conversation between the foreign weavers and Tongan advisors so that they understand the cultural context behind the mats and what they're making.
Oh, yeah. I think New Zealand is swimming in a little too much wokeness. Don't need to have a conversation. If you're going to pass a law, pass the law. Don't buy them, ban them, but don't try and do this. We need to educate them. They need money too. They're doing it probably to feed their families too. So yeah, we'll see. Guys, with that being said, looks like the wife has texted. It's time to go to the gym. we'll end with that. I appreciate everybody's time. I know we haven't had a digital Kava session in a while. There's a couple things I want to kind of go over before we close the program. Really appreciate a lot of the information that a lot of the viewers have sent over on some of our topics. We've gotten some new videos, some new articles that we'll be covering, especially on the Polynesian history aspect of things. Really appreciate the feedback there in the information. Really valuable. We're going to go over that on future podcast. And we do have some upcoming interviews. We completed one with Tavi Tonga, and we will go over to his experience growing up in Hawaii and in the church and starting a business in Utah. We're also going to do a upcoming interview with Tox Fale and his experience in New Zealand and in Japan, in rugby, in wrestling, and entrepreneurship, and the different efforts that he's involved in. So we got some of those coming up. We do have, we really are overdue for the William Mariner series reaction. So we will definitely get that updated, and we'll continue. Really appreciate the support. Once again, we are the audio versions of the podcast is on Apple Podcast. It's also on Amazon Audible. You can also find it on iHeartRadio. So if you're traveling and you just want to get the audio versions, we're slowly going to catch up the audio platform to the YouTube playlists for the podcast. So we'll get that up to date. And then every time we publish on the podcast on YouTube, we will update them on the audio platforms as well. So really, really looking forward to that. I appreciate everyone's time. We'll get through the last couple comments before we sign out. I heard that some Tongan ladies would buy Indonesian fala and gift as if it were authentically made to a Tongan house. Yeah. Hey, Water Bears, are you sure you're not one of those? You're one of those who buys the counterfeit and tries to sell it as the real thing? I wouldn't be surprised if that happens too, right? Some people buying it at a discount and then trying to sell it as authentic. That has issues with it as well, though it's really hard to really be, what's the word? Hide the quality of a ta'avala or a mat. Usually by your first interactions with it, you'll know right away. Just like I know a Chinese made ta'avala almost immediately, right? I know it's not the real thing, but it's a substitute I used for church. Hey, appreciate it, Clyde Moore. Yes, and all the regulars, always fun, always a pleasure. Kingpin, Malo, appreciate it. And if you didn't finish your Kava bowl, as the guys have said, Kingpin, Water Bears, and Kurt, go for the Olympic gold. Drink that whole kumete in one go. So with that being said, really appreciate everyone's time. Enjoy this as a sideshow. We'll try and get as much content as we can for the love of the game. And as always, be bold, stay curious, and ask the tough questions. Peace.